These two Bristol primary school teachers have come to Harwood Junior School in Gloucester to find out more about a new approach the teachers here are using to teach geography. Today they're observing a Year 3 class taught by Kelly Staniforth. Later on they'll get the opportunity to ask her and the geography coordinator Becky Ballinger about how they plan and teach what has become known as the city curriculum.
We've come from Headley Park Primary School in Bristol. We are actually going to start doing an integrated curriculum ourselves in September, and we're coming today to see how it works in action.
Alice and Tina currently teach geography as a distinct subject.
We want to get away from just doing strictly literacy and numeracy out and seeing how we can integrate those subjects into a wider curriculum format. We're going to go out with a Year 3 class. We're going to go out for a field trip with them this morning, and then we're going to talk to the teachers about how they've implemented the city curriculum in their classrooms.
We're going to take hopefully some ideas back to Headley Park so that we can start using them next year when we integrate the curriculum as well.
Kelly Staniforth's Year 3 class has been studying the local area as part of a topic toughly past, present and future. They've been carrying out fieldwork and looking at ways people can affect their environment. Central to the idea of the city curriculum is using local resources and experiential learning. The approach was developed initially by Harwood head teacher Richard Martin.
It's a big challenge for a school contemplating following this approach. The accepted way is that there's a heavy influence and emphasis upon maths and English, which really steers most else that goes on in the school. And there's been a real keenness on the part of government in recent years to encourage schools to enrich, to broaden their curriculum, to focus more on the creative work. And for many schools, the bridge between the sort of basic subjects and the wider, more enriched curriculum is quite difficult.
We can find out. Sam, they might be beavers in here.
Kelly uses the approach to integrate geography with science. Today, a local brook is the place where the two subjects come together. The teacher wants her class to experience a deep understanding of environmental change. So, she sets up a mock situation, a crisis, and the pupils are encouraged to respond to it.
How they put it like this, and how the trees are, and how everything is.
Unfortunately, we've got some really bad news, and this lady from the Citizen newspaper has come to tell you about it.
So I'm really sorry to have to come and tell you this when you're looking at all the plants and the creatures that are here, but there are going to be lots of houses built here. And all this is going to be concreted over, and Daniel's Brook that you've just been looking at, it's not going to be like that anymore, and it doesn't look like many of the creatures are going to have all the habitat that you've been talking about anymore.
Well, what can we do? Jordan?
Like a letter.
Who to?
The council.
That would be a really good idea. We could write letters to them.
And I also think that it's a bit silly of the council to do this, because they could just go and kill themselves and other things.
Yeah.
If they just cover over all the plants. They won't be able to live without a home. Because without their home, they would have nothing to protect them.
The teacher believes using this sort of scenario to create an emotional response is invaluable in broadening the children's awareness, and it helps focus the class on the lesson's objectives.
It makes me feel really angry, because if they build here and all the animals might die, and if they die then you can't just come here and see some animals and nice nature.
An essential part of our approach to learning is to deal with things that are near and first-hand for those children. And through doing that, they can develop the skills and the techniques to then learn about and look at things farther afield. Now, it would be foolish to say that you don't ever learn about anything apart from your immediate environment until you've understood it to such a degree you can understand things much further away or in an abstract sense, because for some children that may never happen. But I think it's foolish also if young children spend time learning about something that's more difficult for them to understand in terms of time and distance when they don't actually know much at all about what's on their doorstep.
Find Whitcomb Farm.
In a previous geography lesson, Kelly had invited Martin Ellis, who's lived in the area all his life, to come and help her class explore changes that have happened over the past 60 years.
See what's opposite to us now? Can you see the house here?
Look across the road from where we are at the moment, please.
Now this used to be a dairy. What do you get in a dairy? What do you buy in a dairy? Milk, yes. And where do they get the milk?
Over lunch, Alice and Tina get the chance to watch a video recording of the lesson and to ask Becky and Kelly more about the delivery of the city curriculum.
There's been a big push for there to be more experiences. Rather than relying on having a textbook in front of you all the time, just think away from that and how would you tackle it. It's been almost like an attitude shift.
It's all to do with when you're planning and you're looking at your topic, thinking of ways that the children can do things where they're going to experience it rather than read about it or be told about it.
As Harwood teachers discovered, local resources are an essential part of their experiential approach.
Yes, well spotted, but that's going to close down soon, isn't it?
Yeah. It's going to be all
So if we come along here in a year's time and did the same, what do you think might be in here?
a field.
There could be.
If we're going to use the local environment or the local areas resource, anything you could recommend that we do to sort of like
Hound people.
Yeah, don't be scared to be cheeky.
Yeah, seriously. It's like the Citizen today came and helped with Year 3 and they've helped with topics that we've done in Year 4. And other people who we've sent letters to and phoned up, there's usually somebody who wants to do something.
Probably the main difference in terms of our approach now with this approach to learning that we call the city curriculum compared to topic or theme-based learning in the 70s, the main difference is the detailed and careful planning that goes into it, and it's planning that's drawn from the requirements of the national curriculum. So the process that the teachers in the schools working on this project, the process they've been through is to look very carefully at the national curriculum and break down the learning points in the various subjects and then relate them to the chosen theme, the chosen subject, and to make sure that through that process all the areas that need to be covered, all the learning objectives are actually mapped out, and to make sure that they take the children along that pathway and they learn those effectively.
We started by looking at the topic web of ideas and things that we would like to achieve and where we wanted to end up. So what our special day was going to be, how we wanted the topic to end. And from that we formulated the key questions. But with each key question, Becky was linking it in with the actual curriculum objectives.
So when we came up with a key question, I looked at my list of national curriculum coverage and looked at where it fitted so that we were fitting things in.
The teachers involved in the planning of the curriculum will produce key questions that will need to be answered by the children if their learning is effective. And through that they've developed what we described then as a critical pathway through the curriculum. In our school, which is a junior school, it's to make sure that from Year 3 through Year 4, 5 and 6, those children get a balanced variety of the different subjects through the themes that they follow.
Well, the key question for today's activity, how does change impact the environment? And in actual fact, the geography has been altered slightly because initially I thought, well, it'd be good fun to share a fake newspaper report. And I thought, well, why bother with fake newspaper report? Let's have the reporter come in and sharing a fake story with them, because it's so in their face that they just have to take it on board and have to react to it. The next key question is, if we could stop the builders, what could be done to improve the area? And this has already been started with their response to today's news, but also as they've started formulating their ideas for what they need to tell the council. So they're already starting their next geography lesson.
I think this is what I mean about it being more logical. It seems to flow much more easily, much more logically, and it makes sense to us, but it presumably makes a lot more sense to the children as you go through it, if you're asking those quite defined questions that lead very closely on from each other.
And it does, because this links directly to your literacy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the geography, you've still covered your geography objectives, but at the same time, you've got the input ready for your literacy.
The planning is based on teachers raising key questions for those children to answer. But the unknown part are the questions that those children ask themselves. What is that? Where did that go? Why is that so big? How did they actually build the cathedral? And often the teacher might not have the answer to that, but it starts a line of inquiry that teacher and child together can actually work on and start to find out the answers.
It just feels exciting that whatever we come up with is going to be quite unique to us. And I mean, it's interesting taking a sort of model from what you're doing here, but ultimately what we come up with is going to be totally driven by the personalities and the ideas that are at Headley Park.
The first thing...
After lunch, Tina and Alice return to Kelly's class and find out how she follows up the morning's fieldwork.
It might have been something that you saw, something that you heard. The second thing is how you felt when the reporter told us about what was going to happen to Daniel's Brook. So when the reporter told us about the buildings, I felt, and then tell me.
My best bit was when I was on the bridge looking down at the water. I felt when the reporter told me that what was going to happen to Daniel's Brook, angry.
You felt angry. Thank you.
My best bit was when I found the little eggs or seeds. Mostly I think they're eggs. And I felt rather sad when the reporter told me about Daniel's Brook. I was sad when the news reporter told us that what happened to Daniel's Brook, because it's so unfair for the other living creatures to have to be suffering when we're just fine.
The Bristol teachers then support the class as they plan letters to express their concerns.
One of the impacts is going to be that you won't have a place where...
The children will be told about the role play once the letters are finished.
Creatures living in a natural habitat.
So, how did Alice and Tina find their day at Harwood Junior?
Inspiring, very inspiring. I feel like we can go back to Headley Park now and really sort of crack on with what we're doing. We're getting the integrated curriculum up and running at our school.
It makes it come alive when you see it in action, and it doesn't seem as much of a mountain to climb as it did last week.
One of the features that's helped us in the success of this project has been to have a number of schools working together, where we could share expertise, plan projects and programs of study together, and actually use similar resources in a coordinated way. And I think also when you have schools working together in that way, the sort of collective value of 3 or 4 schools working together is greater than the individual schools working together, and it gives us a strength, sense of purpose.
We've already had an in-service day where we've been able to choose our themes for our own city curriculum, and now we need to go back and implement some of the ideas for the planning in terms of sorting out the key questions and the objectives and making sure that there's national curriculum coverage. But what's really important is getting in those sort of wow factors of going outside, letting the children actually experience things in real life.
Yeah.